Welcome to the Game Theory Podcast, episode 89.2. Still don't have a good intro, so there you go. Almost 90 episodes down and not a good one. What are we gonna do?
No, we're.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. There's David is on his phone in the great land of Utah. And so there may be some connection issues. If there's too bad, I guess we'll just quit and record later or something. I don't know. But now I'm going to figure out how to put these headphones in. So,
hey, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Don't worry. We'll edit this out.
Yes. Okay, let's try again. Heyo, welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. This is 89.2. Maybe I should do a little rock rhyme rhythm to start the podcast off.
Or maybe an epic ballad.
Rap battle between me and David. Break it. I got fat beats. What do you got, dog? Anyway.
That was good. That was a good intro.
Thank you. All right, let's keep that. So we're talking about paradises because I just came from a tropical paradise where I got to float around in a beautiful place, but I also crap my brains out because of bad water and food. So, paradise.
Yes. And when I heard the name of this episode, I thought we were talking about two sets of dice.
Paradise. Yeah.
Yes, Monopoly, for example. You roll two dice.
The craps, which is what I had. Craps. That makes sense.
Okay, it all ties together.
No, something hit me. Like while we were sitting there, I got in one of these situations where we're laying like in this beautiful kind of weather. This is like the first day where everything was just fantastic, right? Like, had no problems with the shitty water or anything yet. Everything was great. And all of a sudden I hear someone next to me go, this was like, they come in and sit down after this, waiter comes and brings the food. And they say, this is bullshit. I went up there for nachos and they didn't have any jalapenos. I just thought that was really, or no, then they said, why did we even come here? And that was the point where I was like, wait a minute. We can just make ourselves miserable anywhere. But more importantly, the idea of paradise, maybe it's an idea that we have taken for granted or just don't understand.
It reminds me of privilege a little bit.
Yeah, it does kind of. That's true. But
why did we even come here to this island to this beach paradise?
Yeah, or take for example Final Fantasy X, a good Final Fantasy that you don't like that takes place in paradise. You're dumb for not liking it.
That's good.
It's not good.
Fair assessment.
That's why people come here. Our riveting analysis like that. That's good. I like that.
That's good. That's some That's a touche, friend.
Well done. Episode over.
No, yeah, that's another game that takes place in paradise. Or I think of the game that we're playing for our book club, Chrono Trigger. It's basically a paradise that floats above the sky.
Yes. Yeah.
And whenever I think paradise, I think of that theme, the Zeal theme. Bum 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 bum. You know that one? The zither.
Honestly, when I think of paradise, I still think of. Do you remember Silver Star Story, where you could go into the sky in that floating city? That was Lunar, right?
Yeah. Lunar.
Yeah, and you go up there, and that's like where all the scholars and like the magicians live and stuff. And it's I don't know, it's just like this cool area. But it's also like the idea. You can also get like that bad idea of paradise. Like, man, did you ever read that? Remember that comic? It was like this gothic style by I think Pat Lee, Dragon something. They were like vampires.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. It's so good.
Talking about like it's a kind of an anime style.
Yeah, the artwork is incredible, but their idea of paradise was like to enslave human race and use them as like feeding crops and stuff. But
so it's subjective, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, those are both the same. Yeah, that's pretty well agreed upon. Using humans as feedstock.
So it's interesting thinking about the topic because we're talking about like why don't more games take place in paradise, and we were thinking, well, it's boring. Paradise is super. Thinking of Dante. He wrote a trilogy of books. One was about hell, one was about the Purgatoria, the other one was about paradise.
Holy shit, dude! Your
What's wrong?
Your connection is really bad, man. Yeah, it's like just going Rob. Your robot voicing. You sound like Rob from NES.
Take the supplies.
Take the supplies, Fox. You have to go try to find him in the middle of a battle. Thanks, Rob. You dick. Maybe give it to me before and or after the battle.
No, the thick of battle. That's the best time.
No, this is good. It's good. No.
Hold on. Maybe I'm gonna relocate to a stronger Wi-Fi.
You won't do it. You won't relocate just for the podcast.
That's what you think.
It's
gonna make. I just want it to be super easy to edit.
Thank you. This is great. This is great. I'm just gonna mark this timestamp down so I can take all this out. Sorry for the live viewers.
How's this? Is this better?
Yeah, you sound like a normal person instead of a robot. If that's what you're going for, you should stay there.
I just don't want you to know that I've been replaced by a robot.
Robot overlords, hit us. What were you saying though? Dante's Inferno?
Yeah, I was talking about. So Dante's Inferno is part of a trilogy that actually has a book called the Purgatorio. It's about purgatory, and the Paradise one, that one about heaven. So what's funny though is when you talk to people about Dante, which one do they always go to?
Yeah, Dante's Inferno.
Right, because the other two are really boring in comparison. Like they're better. I don't know. You could argue that they're better works of literature. Like if you get into them, they're just like more poetic. They've got deeper themes. But people go straight to Purgatory because that's where to the Inferno because that's where the revenge porn is. That's where you see people getting tortured and eaten and frozen and flayed and tossed in whirlwinds because it's just more excited.
I love Frozen. Yeah, that's the thing about Paradise is it's like this end game or this like idea of a win condition, right? Like happily ever after, or like
right.
Over the hill, and either literally like in like Moses when he's like, yeah, up over this hill you're gonna find Canaan, and then he was never heard from again after they went up on the hill. So who knows what happened with that? He's probably fine. He went up there with a bunch of trained killers who had promised to pay him once they found the land of milk and honey, and instead it was just I don't know, shitty Iraq Jordan area. But he's probably fine. Never heard from him.
Probably okay.
He's okay.
But video games do that, like, right? Like when do you lose interest in games like Harvest Moon? It's when you've overcome all the obstacles and it's just like, oh, now everything's fine. Let's farm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Once you get like the gold tools and stuff. That's paradise. That's fucking paradise, David.
It's my paradise. Samwise, the ultimate garden. Or it's once you put the cheat codes in, right? Like the idea of paradise is almost paradoxical because as soon as things stop having conflict, they stop being interesting. We get bored.
Yeah, yeah. And like the idea of paradise kind of changes per person. Like, if you live next to a sadomasochist, they may want you to beat the shit out of them while you while they beat the shit out of you. And that may be their paradise, but that's not really what I want.
Yeah, like the 40 virgins, like that's not really their paradise. Like those were probably sinful virgins. Like that's their hell. It's doing double duty.
Yeah, they're not really excited about that whole situation.
Or D&D, right? Like the minute you get to level 20 and you become phenomenal godlike powers, it's like, all right, we killed all the gods and we're really good. Now what?
Yeah, that was the end of my campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I like these new ideas of people exploring these paradises, I guess it's not a new idea. 1984 was kind of a realization of, like someone's paradise, like, someone's probably your higher ups and your people who are real excited about government, oversight may consider that kind of an end game, right?
Well, yeah, Augustine wrote City of God way back when. You've got, Plato and Aristotle talking about the Republic. I mean, the idea of like a paradise and a perfect society is as old as writing, right? Like the Hammurabi's columns or the code. It's basically an attempt to create a paradise. But I don't know, there's something about the struggle that's interesting, but not the success.
Yeah. And what kind of paradise can you really have if you're looking, like if it's a paradise that everyone makes it to, that I guess that's good. But then it's less of an interesting story. It might be an interesting like situation, like if someone was like, hey, everyone can make it into paradise, I'd be like, sweet, awesome.
that's kind of a Groucho Marx, like I wouldn't want to be a part of any paradise that would let me in sort of thing, sort of a riff on that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, actually the beginning of FF10, all jokes aside, is a really cool, I love games that start like this, like it shows paradise basically, like they're living in this like beach, if you like beachy type areas, Zanarkand is a beautiful area, right? It's like they had this, he's living on the top of the dreams. He's this, the main character is this, Titus is this, or or some people pronounce it Titus, and that really bugs me. I
How
just
do you
say Titus.
mispronounce a game where they have voice acting? Like, it's pretty canon, right? You just listen to how the characters say it.
I think it's because there's the Japanese version, kind of like Aerith and Aeris.
Oh,
Like, I'm
plus
not gonna do
he's kind of tedious. Like his character is kind of like poorly written, so he's like, oh, Titus the tedious guy. It's rolls off the tongue.
I wonder if the Japanese voice actor was actually cool. I haven't heard him.
Maybe they're just trolling the American version. They're like, who's the worst voice actor we could find?
This guy. And some guy's like on his couch, and he's like, what? Like, oh, you want to be a voice actor? I don't care, yeah.
He's like, what? Okay, yeah, okay, I'm a good voice actor.
Well, hold on. Before you get in the door, let's hear your laugh. Yep, you're in. You're good.
That's perfect. Spot on. That's what we're looking for.
And so many Japanese voice actors are actually awesome. Like, if you listen to Attack on Titan, the Japanese version, like
There's another show that starts off with a fall, right? Like you have this paradisical, like we're fine, we're behind the walls, nothing happens, and then the show gets interesting the moment, spoiler alert, in the first episode when things fall apart and stops being a paradise.
Yeah, and think about the 3 Diablo games. You've played 3 Diablo games and all the expansions, and the third Diablo is the first time you actually go into paradise and get to see it. Like, because it's only interesting because it gets, well, spoiler, but paradise ends up being a place you need to go. I'll put it that way. And because of that,
unsubscribe.
Hey man, it happened,
guys.
It happened in your future endeavors. Yeah, like it's a weird, I don't know. Plus, you kind of like get upset about the angels for hanging out up there the whole time when you're like, we've been kind of cleaning up your shit down here for a while. You guys just gonna let the butcher hang out down here underneath this cathedral? That's cool.
Dude, angels in pop culture are kind of dicks. I guess they are in the Old Testament too, right? Like it's the destroying angel, not the hug everybody angel.
Well, I guess it depends on the angel. Like there's no real, I don't know, agreement on like what they're all like. Because like there's, look at the 4 accounts in the gospel where one says, it's a little boy. Another one says it's 2, these big old angels. Another one says they're in front of the stone. Some say they're inside there and the stones pull back. There's no real agreement. And then you get the ones on like the Old Testament where one's just like a person and they're like, are you just a person? They're like, no, I'm an angel. It's like, oh, okay. And then another one where like they're floating down and all these people are terrified of them. So if anything,
but they all tend to be kind of dicks, right? Like the ones where people are like, go ahead and rape those girls, not us. And then you have like, angels that just like open up seals and revelations and wipe everybody out. Like the idea of guardian angels or angels being personally interested in humanity, like more than just messengers, that's a relatively new thing theologically. That's like post-medieval times, more of a Renaissance, where the cherubim and stuff started being painted as like little boys instead of horrible flying eyeballs with like lion faces and angel like fiery wings and like 3 claws coming out of each orifice.
Yeah. I love a good narrative with like a good paradise or like a paradise that's not actually a paradise. It's when people try to paint it out to be. It's kind of like it reminds me of like socialism, of like like extreme socialism, not like or like communism, I guess I should say, where they they're like, oh hey, we're living in the paradise now. Like look at North Korea, where they're like, we're the greatest country in the world, and they're totally not. Spoiler, they're not.
You've never been there. I've seen some of their propaganda videos. It looks pretty great.
Good point. Have you seen the American propaganda videos of that? It's like Americans eating their own snow to survive.
There's a great series on College Humor. It's called The Adventures of Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un. It's supposed to be like a cartoon series out of North Korea. It's just like
hilarious.
The totally true adventures of things that really happened to Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And if you have to say it. That's like whenever somebody opens up with, this is going to be really funny. I'm like, see, if you got to say it, then like Louis C.K. never says that in his skits. He's never like, hang on guys, this one's going to be funny. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Meta dialogue's a problem. Avoid it if you want to be a good writer. But
that's ironic because that was meta dialogue about meta dialogue.
Snap. We just Inception of this episode.
I know. Can we get that sweet soundtrack playing right now? Yeah, but Paradise in general, a little I don't know. Oh, they always raise my hackles. Like whenever I hear somebody be like, it'll be great, man. Paradise is just around the corner. You're like, I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all.
Is there value in the idea of paradise as a carrot, as a way of motivating people to keep moving? Like the Israelites keep on going, it's just around that hill, or on The Walking Dead, it's like, we got to get to Washington, find the cure. Like that was one of the more recent storylines in the show. The older ones in the comic. Like does the idea of paradise have a value even if the actual location doesn't?
No, yeah, it does. I mean, it's supposed to be the idea of like paradise has what qualities, right? Like worry free, right?
Mm.
Comfortable, so like lack of discomfort, lack of worry, and a lack of fear or anxiety. So you're like, that'd be great. But really, those are only really helpful in small amounts. Like, they did that international, happiness survey, and they found that, like, happiness has some variability for sure. We can measure that across countries. But overall, it's surprisingly tight, like around a certain mean. Like, we had to really kind of like, yeah, have you ever seen those graphs where they're like dishonest, where they kind of expand and they're like, look at the difference in our shares.
But you
really,
zoom out and it's like minuscule.
yeah, it's like 0.002 or something. Happiness isn't that bad, but it's like, it all revolves around an average of, let's say if we did a 1 to 10, and it all revolves around somewhere around like a 6 or a 7, and then you get variance in there, +1, +2. Yeah, but overall, nobody will ever be happy in any situation. You get like celebrities, like very wealthy celebrities killing themselves. You get like billionaires, jumping out of buildings. It's just it's a strange thing, but it's a useful thing to think about, right? Like, we find ourselves in paradise, or these small moments of paradise, whenever we have achieved a goal. Like, we've been worrying about a goal, and then finally we get there. Like, for example, if you're you got your finals week, and then you do your finals, and then when you're done, you're like, oh. It's that moment where you're kind of experiencing a little bit of paradise, in a way.
It's the post-glowy level up moment in World of Warcraft, where you've been watching that experience bar for several hours, and all of a sudden, level 45. Okay, back to work.
Yeah, and it's really the length. Okay, this is something I've become intensely interested in clinically, is like the length of that time that someone allows themselves that paradise, right? Like, you get some people who can revel in it for like a day, for like a full 24 hours. They can just be like, I'm done. I did it. I'm going to chill all today and not feel bad about anything. And, let's say there's laundry to be done. There's other tasks to do, but you allow yourself your due reward. And then
mine take weeks.
Yeah, there you go. See, I mean, that's good for your like emotional state, at least. And
Not
then
my productivity, but definitely my emotions.
But so many people, like they rob themselves. They go, oh, especially like worry, like chronic worriers or people with generalized anxiety disorder. They kind of sit there for a while and think, like, as soon as they get there, they're like, oh man, but what if this? And now I need to prepare for that. And this is coming up. And oh, my laundry needs to be done. All those things. They sort of rob themselves of their own paradise because we're not comfortable. I mean, think about the Matrix. Remember when he said this is like the 10th iteration or however many, maybe the 100th iteration. Doesn't matter. They've tried it before and they made it paradise. But humans are like viruses. They destroyed it for themselves.
Right.
They weren't happy with it. They rejected it.
Rejecting it. So they had to make it a little bit shitty to make us like feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of truth to that. Both anecdotally, like the audience understood that. Movie watchers.
It resonated with the audience.
There you go. That's a smart way to say it. I like to say movie watchers liked it good.
Movie watchers felt good feelings for that.
Speaking of horrible grammar, dude, my son. This is a statement he made. Look how many far I goated.
Oh, my goodness. As an educator, I would be perfectly in my rights in telling him to just shut up and kill himself. He's
just hold him underwater. He was in the pool, so just let him die. You gotta let those genes get out of the pool. No pun intended.
Yeah, it's grammatical Darwinism. It's important.
Grammatical Darwinism. It's pretty fucked up. We talked about abusing children, but don't joke about rape. But anyway,
trigger warning.
Yeah, I could. Oh well. Not that I would joke about rape, but I just feel like nothing should be
off limits. Well, you like Louis C.K., so that's typical.
Yeah. Or George Carlin. You can watch his routine on that, where he explicitly starts joking about rape, but then he talks about it and he says, like, some people don't like when you joke about that, but then he talks about why it needs to be done. Not joke about rape, but having anything. It's like taking anything off the table for discussion or for humor. Discussion and humor, two things that probably should be approachable about anything. And if you have a problem with it, then it's probably something you need to examine in yourself. Like, if somebody makes fun of me for being, I don't know, a douche or a bro or a gamer or whatever role I'm playing at that time.
Are you wearing a tank top right now?
I'm totally wearing a tank top, but I was just playing Chrono Trigger, so that like evens out, I think.
Nice. Yeah, balances.
Yeah, see, it's a matter of, I just got to keep that bank account right at or I'm screwed. Too much CrossFit, and then I need to come in and play Here's the Storm for like 4 hours. No, yeah, just I think that's it's a cool concept, but it's a hard sell. Nobody wants to play the game. Everybody wants to play the game where you end up in paradise, but nobody wants to play the game when you're in paradise.
But I do like games where you start in paradise and then it gets ruined.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which even if you take it down like the Last of Us, right? Like you're not exactly in paradise. His life is pretty bad from the beginning. You can tell because he's on this conversation about losing a contractor on the phone.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels like paradise compared to what's to come. So like games where you fall are almost more interesting to me than games where you start at zero and climb up. Demon's Quest on the Super Nintendo, or really any Metroid game after the first couple, right, where you lose all of your power ups and have to regain them. But you've had a taste of them, right? Like you've had a slow taste of power, and then you're like, oh, that's what I want to get back to. Like that's more compelling to me than like you're a little shitty level 1 nobody. Eventually you get cool though. Trust me.
Yeah, I think Demon Quest. Which one was that?
Super Nintendo Capcom game. It's based off of Gargoyle's Quest on the NES. It was a sequel to it. You start off, you're Firebrand the Gargoyle, and like you fly around. It's like Mega Man kind of.
Yeah.
You get stuff from everything you kill.
Yeah.
That game was awesome. I miss the games.
Yeah, those games, dude. The people over at God of War, and however you feel about God of War, I like it. I like
the mini games.
Yeah. Well, I like Greek mythology, right? And you're a fan of Greek mythology, right?
Yeah, dude. I was the kid like in during the book fairs. Everyone's like getting the Garfield comics, and I'm like in the corner with like this big book of Greek mythology. I'm like, oh, Perseus! No way, dude. He's gonna use a reflective shield. I was nerding out. It was long before I knew what D&D was, but I was already in the magic items.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of that. In fact, I crafted a D&D world where it was like that. So you get these demigods, these gods, and people who can attain godhood. And then there's in a physical space in the world where gods live, like Mount Olympus. But I'm a big fan. So like when that game came out, I was like, all right. Plus it's it's man sauce. It's a nice male fantasy where you're gonna go around and just be ridiculous,
play
like
mini games. Yeah, for sure.
Play mini games, all the mini games, sex mini games. But no, I mean it's got a market, and
right.
Sometimes I lean on that example whenever I talk about do all games need to be non-sexist? So like what if there's a game with a female where she goes around and kills all the dudes? Like I'm like I think there's a room for that.
Fine. Dudes are expendable.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. There's a bigger point there, but then what about a game where God of War, where you're running around and being absolutely ridiculous, and it's obviously over the top. I mean, like when he rips someone's arms off, just like rip someone in half and be like, whoa, and like bathe in their blood. I mean, it's supposed to be over the top, and I think those things have a limit as long as people understand that they're just like comedy. It's satire. It's not to be taken seriously. You don't really want to rip anyone in half and bathe in their blood. I think it's a fun fantasy, but that's a different discussion. But I think in that game, the developers said specifically, they said, we want to get something that everybody can understand and that resonates with everyone, and it's give me my shit back. And so I think it's God of War 2, but it could have been 1 where it's 1, yeah, where you have this nice setup. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler because it's literally the opening scene on the first God of War. But you've got a family, and all of a sudden Ares, the God of War, kills them off so that you can be a more focused killer, right? It's
very Gladiator, right? Like you're the father to a murdered wife, husband to a murdered. Wait, I got that backwards. You get it though.
Yeah. Take away the motivation to go home, and they'll stay with you in the barracks, kind of thing. But, and then you find that out, in the beginning, that all of a sudden that was the God of War and not, these barbarians that were in your land, and you freak out. But, yeah, I like that idea. I like the fact that Paradise Lost. Your happiness taken away, and then that, because then it gives you that yearning and that sense of justice, where almost anything is, when you're a victim, it's like the victim complex. When you're the victim, anything is suddenly, it's legit. It's excusable.
One more thing about Paradise Lost, you just reminded me of this. Now we're talking about Milton, right? Like that's the illusion you were making.
Milton Bradley.
Paradise.
Yeah, I love those games.
Yeah, Paradise Lost, fun for the whole family, ages 5 and up.
Why 4 and down can't make it in paradise? If you die at 4, you're fucked.
Yeah. The road to hell's paved with unbaptized baby skulls.
That's not the thing. That's not the thing.
Oh, never mind. I got it wrong. But there's a famous kind of novel / poem / epic thing called Paradise Lost by Milton, and it introduces the concept of Lucifer as a tragic villain, as a almost beautiful fallen angel, instead of the medieval concept of him as a evil goat man. Like they just kind of ripped off the satyr idea from pagan mythology and was like, he's like a goat, like a goat man. He's like an evil goat man. He lives in fire, and like, oh, that's scary. But then you get Milton coming along, and he kind of repaints the picture of Lucifer as this fallen angel, which has references in the Bible, but he really goes into this idea of this tragedy behind this, almost Lord Byron-esque dark monster who you almost feel sorry for. And that too, I think, is a compelling game element. When you have a villain that you just are like, oh man, I can see why he's a bad guy, and I almost would do the same thing in his situation. Like it's some way, like Galleon from Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, right? You're like, holy shit, he's kind of right. Like he might be, or the Watchmen, right? Like when you get to the end of the Watchmen, I won't spoil it in case somebody hasn't read that book yet, but you get to the end and you hear the villain's like plan, and you're like, wow, I kind of feel like maybe we should help the villain now. Like he's a compelling villain, and it's an element from Paradise Lost that I think really adds to the story of a lot of video games.
Isn't that like a postmodern idea, or maybe that's a modern idea? I don't really know the difference sometimes, but the idea that like the only thing that makes the difference between a good person and a bad person is their environment and their situation, right? So like being a hero and then fighting this good fight till the end and then being like, oh man, I could be just like him if I was in his situation. That's like it's definitely like a liberal way of thinking, at least more than it is a conservative or comic book idea.
Yeah, the idea of situational or subjective morality, it's kind of new, but at the same time, like I said, Milton was toying with those themes way back in the 17th century.
But he made board games for kids, so him and his friend Bradley.
You lost your soul. Go back to start. Womp womp womp
womp womp. Do not collect your soul. Do not pass your parents' house. No, yeah, I love that stuff, and that's another problem that I have with some of the Anita Sarkeesian things, where it's like, oh look, a woman is a tool for the man, and I agree that like. That
women
shouldn't
are tools
be
for men. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, right. No, that shouldn't be the sole, way that goes, and women shouldn't always be that, or shouldn't be so frequently that. But
right,
in general,
because it's just bad writing. If you're using the same women and fridge tropes every single game, like it gets boring. You got to keep it varied, but also for social reasons.
Yeah, but women, or more importantly, like let's say my wife, or like someone's girlfriend, or someone's child, or something. They represent more than, they're not property, but they represent more than just a person,
random
right?
Stranger, yeah.
They represent, yeah, or a stranger you stole off the street. Like they represent more than just like a person. They represent like a portion of your life, or a role, right? Like
there's whenever we do there.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's like, okay, so like let's say you have a really hard day. Myself included, like if I have a really tough day, once I get in the house, I take off my shoes, I take off my pants, and I say, come hug me. No, no,
that was really sweet, except for like a couple of those lines.
Yeah, no, but I do actually. I take off my shoes, I take off because I usually wear like fancy pants. Mr. Fancy Pants is what they call me at work.
Fancy pants.
Yeah, and like my fancy shirt, and then I just dress down, and then I'm like, and then I put on some gym shorts and some like a gym shirt or something, and then I'm like, good, now I'm set. And my house is like my safe space, and my family represents my, my safe.
Your support structure.
Yeah. So like when people like they're my, property or whatever, I'm like, no, they're not, but they do represent part of that. Like I imagine that Amy would be just as angry if like I was slaughtered, like, directly in front of her. She'd be like, what the fuck? I want to kill that person too. Yeah. So
it's probably one of the emotions she would have for sure.
Maybe a soul emotion at this point. She may not love me anymore, but
she's very possessive.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's an issue I have with that particular gripe that she has. I'm like, that's not all women are, no, but they do represent part of that. And just like I represent comfort and I represent security, I also represent, discipline, but also represent money to my kids. What?
Abs
of steel, just rock hard abs. No. To my kids, like I represent different things.
Yeah, you're a crucial part of their world. So you destroy any part of my world, it's gonna feel like an emotional loss.
Yeah. Just like whenever you see like the empty swing sets or whatever, like in an apocalyptic
film. Kills me. Just like the slightly swinging swings. You're like, oh.
Oh man, yeah. Or in Wii U, the Zombie U, or in Silent Hill, like you go through like the kids' school and you're like, come on.
Yeah, the opening level is like a daycare. Come on,
dude. It's called a Wii. That's not very fun.
It's not childlike.
But that is the idea of like Paradise Lost, right? You get to come over the remnants of what used to be awesome, and it's kind of a shocking idea. It's like you see it and you're like, man, that could have been me. I could have been one of these people dulled into innocence, And
I guess so we got like three categories I can see. We've got the first one is like you're kind of at ground zero and you're trying to attain paradise, right? And that's probably the majority of games are that way.
Yeah.
You're trying to attain level 20 or beat the game or whatever, but you're starting off as like a weakling. And then the second one we've talked about is Paradise Lost, where the game starts off with everything awesome, and then you lose all of your powers, you lose your girl. Like the Double Dragon gang comes and punches your girlfriend in the gut and carries her away. Whatever it is, like it's this idea of loss and then recovery from loss, and I find that more compelling because you've tasted it and now you want it back. Mm-hmm. And then there's a third one. This is probably the most rare. It's mostly all I can think of right now is BioShock that does it, but it's this idea of Paradise was lost long before you got there, and you're kind of seeing like the decaying remnants of what once was a utopia.
Oh, what about like a fourth one of like destroying paradise? Like you get like think about Columbia, yeah, for example, and BioShock Infinite, or like there's a lot of films that do this right now. I'm having a hard time thinking of games, but like Elysium, the movie with Tom Cruise, the super fast runner, and
he's so
what's the other one with Matt Damon? Remember the one where he's in a machine suit, and he goes up to this perfect world too and tries to tear it down. I can't remember what it's called, but the point of the movie is that there's a sick girl and they're down in these slums. They're the working class, right? And at this point, the white collar people have separated themselves to such a point where they're literally living above, in a whole different like society, a different world than the lower class. In the lower class, there's this girl who gets sick, and the only way to get the right kind of medical care is to get up to this idea. And so Matt Damon takes it upon himself to try to get up there. I won't tell you how it ends, but that's the idea. So like those ideas of like tearing down or infiltrating paradise and tainting it or whatever, where you're kind of the bad guy. I think that happens too, like seeing this paradise and wanting it destroyed. It's kind of the idea of proletariatism, right? Proletariatism, the proletariat.
Sorry, you froze.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, but anyway, so I'm just saying like the idea that like the separation of classes of bourgeoisie and the proletariat, and like the proletariat rising up and taking back, equalizing things by tearing down paradise, and
No, so you're talking like maybe some communist theory, like communist literary theory, where some things are through the lens of like, yeah, there's a paradise, but it's not for everybody, and you're not part of that elite. So instead of trying to attain paradise, you're trying to like either equalize it or worse, tear it down so nobody gets it.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII. Damn it. Well, that was really convoluted, but
yeah,
his idea was something like
clones, that, right? Brainwashed.
Zach. Hang on, Preppy.
Hold on. Or Final Fantasy VI is probably a better example with the idea of it's not paradise, but things you've had 1,000 years of peace, and then you're trying to prevent a catastrophe from happening, and the whole thing is like if you don't prevent it, then it's going to be the ruins of what could have been a paradise. So it's like this idea of lost potential.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just like almost references just a bigger point of like kind of purity and whether that can be a real thing. I don't know, like you kind of get this idea of like from The Last of Us, Ellie, who, I won't ruin it for anyone, but she's kind of innocent, throughout the thing. Not particularly. I guess she's not particularly morally innocent, right? She like cusses when you first meet her. She's like, "Fuck off me!" But she represents like the new world, the new hope for the world, I guess, and the new generation, I should say.
Right.
And your idea is to protect that.
Yeah. Or Clementine a lot in The Walking Dead. You've got the same instinct. Like there were some moral decisions I made with Clementine where if I were by myself, I would have done something completely different, the pragmatic option. But instead, I chose the idealistic option because I didn't want to corrupt her innocence yet.
Yeah, it almost gives it like an extra quality, like an additive quality. I don't know if I'm multiplicative, but like, if something is perfect, you'd almost go more to keep it that way. Because I did the same thing with Clementine. I lied to her, which is objectively, you would think wrong or bad, but I said it was fine because in my head I justified it because of the fact that I was like, no, she's untarnished. She doesn't need to know this crap. Like right. She doesn't need to know that I stole blank or that, or whatever questionable decision. I can't remember. I'm not spoiling because I don't remember what I did, but it was these different decisions I made, and I would at the beginning I kind of lied to her about it, and I was like, no, I just found this, whatever food or whatever it was. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But it almost justifies it, which makes it kind of scary. It's a takes on like an intangible kind of property at that point.
So
Weird.
yeah, but yeah, that's I don't know. I guess my takeaway message for this episode for Paradise is that if you're writing a story, if you're DMing, if you're making a game, if you're designing something, it's almost always more compelling to give the players a taste of perfection, of power, of paradise, and then rip it away from them than it is to just tell them it exists at the end of the game and have them strive for it.
Yeah, I like that. I think I'd rather do that in the next like campaign, I guess.
Yeah, like picture this for a D&D campaign. Like you gather around the table, right? And the first thing you do, you're all level like 20. You're fighting this like godlike being. And right at the very end, he like raises his hand and this flash of light appears. Then you wake up and you've just had this weird dream. You're just this kid on a farm. You're level 1. What was that all about? Was that a glimpse of the future? Did you lose your memory? All you know is you've tasted power at one point and you want to get it back.
Yeah, and you have the players actually play that with that level 20.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
so
that
they
would
play
be
out
cool.
the first battle at level 20 before they go back to being level 1.
That would be cool because then that also challenges the idea of fate, right? Because then, like, let's say you made your character
is
a
that
certain way.
predestined or is that something that's already happened? Like, is that in the future? Is that in the past? Like, it makes them wonder: are they like inevitably going towards that point again, or is this just like a weird dream they had?
Yeah, and then like if I do change something, will I even make it to that point again, or will I die on the path, or did I lose because of I made some small decision along the way? Like it adds in a lot of like doubt. I like that. Huh. Well, who knew?
Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost and Found. That's what I'll call it. Paradise Lost and Found. Yeah, well, cool. Yeah, so tell us what you think about Paradise in general, or maybe you guys have used this in your own like game design or whatnot. But yeah, I love to use like innocence and then tear into that with other stuff because I'm just a bad person.
You are.
I love how it makes you feel disquieted.
Yeah, but good art makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like naked old people at the gym. Why are they so comfortable showing your balls? That's what I'm wondering.
It's good art. Makes me feel uncomfortable.
It's good art. I'm gonna say that next time Grandpa does one of these side
just like leaning back and you're like, that's good art. That's good art.
Just kind of point at it too. That's good art. But anyway. But yeah, cool. So I guess that we're gonna segue off into the feedback section. So we'll see you on the other side. All right, this is the feedback section where we talk about our interactions with the community. That's
you guys.
It's all of you. Yeah, I don't know why our Stitcher page was like kind of a hot point for a little bit, and so was the Libsyn page, which I thought was pretty weird. Actually, I haven't checked the Libsyn one in just a bit, so I'm gonna do that. But what about iTunes reviews? Do you get anything about that?
No idea. On my phone.
No. Oh yeah, your phone. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that. But we did get a little feedback in general. Dang it!
My mom said, "Good job, guys. You're doing doing all right."
I love your podcast. Actually, my mom does listen to the podcast, which is pretty funny because we make some pretty offensive jokes in here. But I'm like, Mom, don't listen. She's like, it's funny. It's fine. You two are hilarious.
You two are grown-ups now. You can make the grown-up jokes.
I like the part where you talk about your balls.
Which episode, Mom? Be specific.
Actually, here's one we got, and it was about the Death of the Lamb Party. Oh, wait. This actually comment was already left somewhere else. So, hello?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. My interface froze here on Google Hangouts. I don't know why. I think it's because I opened up iTunes and got really pissy. Yep, that was it. Anyway, they left this exact same comment somewhere else. So I guess I won't reread it, but it was the one that has to do with like the unfairness in competitive gaming and that kind of thing. So
cool.
We'll skip out on that. But I'm going to check the iTunes one because you are a horrible slacker.
Yeah, it's true.
And we will see. Why is this Game Theory podcast where the people are making the weird finger symbols on iTunes? Why is that still a thing?
Well, they came out with 12 episodes 3 years ago, so they still come up first.
These stupid goobers, man. We got a lot of reviews, though. A lot of 5-star ratings. That makes me happy. So Nope. Looks like the last one was from the Hypocritics podcast. Those people that we talked to quite a while back. So
Cool.
Yeah. But other than that, there was on the Facebook page, people have been talking about the Chrono Trigger game in general, which has been really fun for me to revisit. Really enjoying it. Also, Steam Summer Sale. A couple people were hyping that because that's coming up when? June 11th?
Yes.
Oh, shit, son. And then Dalton, a guy who talks a decent amount on the page, talked about this, and I thought this was really intriguing. He said, does anyone else really miss the in-store demos? When I was younger, almost 80% of my games I got immediately after playing the demo right in the store, right? Then he just says, I just don't see these anymore. You can download demos, but he misses the impulse buys that you get from gaming stores. And I just went into a gaming store, and I got to say that, I missed that, man. It really got me thinking.
For sure.
Did you spend time in gaming shops?
I don't think they had any in Mountain Home, specifically gaming stores growing up. There was game rental places, but I can't think of any GameStops.
Oh. Well, that's too bad. I love going in there and just shooting the shit with other gamers, but yeah, that was a good point. The other one was people were talking about, we were talking about unpopular gaming opinions, and Brian mentioned the fact that D&D 4E was actually something that he enjoyed too. And,
it's the other person who bought things from it.
Hey, there's the 3. I knew there's 3 box sets.
I complain about it, but when I look at our gaming group, how many books do we actually buy, and how many things were just PDF pirated things? It's kind of our fault that system died.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, 4th edition, 3rd edition, dude. We funded the shit out of that.
Dude, I don't feel bad about 4th edition in retrospect because I spent $300 on those yearly subscriptions for 7 or 8 years. I was subscribed every year for that. The DDI.
That's a good point. Yeah, you did your part. But I posted something that you didn't even mention, that you didn't even check. But did you see the Super Smash Brothers crossover with the Mortal Kombat X-rays?
Oh yeah,
it was hilarious. You see Falcon punch someone, and then it zooms into someone's body being snapped in half. But overall, pretty hilarious. Yeah. So that was pretty much it. Besides the fact of a couple of the people posted stuff about this idea of swatting. Have you heard about this in video games?
No.
These Twitch streamers, and I think it's solely Twitch, but I'm not sure. Their viewers will call in a SWAT raid to that person's house once they find him, so that they can watch them get SWAT raided. And
pretty bad.
Yeah, right. And the front picture is this boy crying in court because obviously he's getting drugged off to jail, and he's like, no, and I'm like, what did you expect to happen? You called a SWAT raid on someone's house. So I don't know. I have no sympathy for those people. I think that's ridiculous. So
yeah. So for the book club, we're planning on meeting up and recording on Tuesday for the first week of gaming. So that's from the beginning all the way to the end of time. And after that, I will open up a thread on Facebook so that people can discuss things, bring up things we missed or forgot to mention, just their favorite parts of the game. And then hopefully we won't take as long to get the next episode up after. Maybe we can do it on Sunday or the weekend or something.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, we'll get this thing kicked off and going. I know I've been putting in a lot of time Chrono Trigger, so this game, it's good.
So good. How many hours are you into it?
Dude, a lot, because I wasted a lot of time getting those silver points. I thought for some reason, just muscle memory, I just was getting the silver points at the first fair for 3 hours.
When it's the hardest to do it because you can't one-shot Gato anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Because it was all muscle memory. That's how I poorly played it before. So I was doing the chugging contest forever until my finger wore out. And then I went and did Gato, the metal joints dude, and fought him a few times. And then I bet it on the races, and you can kind of run into the people. I remember
you can kind of tap on the ones that you didn't vote on and try and slow them down like a dick.
Yeah, and so I wasted a lot of time. And then I cashed out all those points, because this is how I used to do it. I cashed them all out to that guy who will buy the silver points, and then I reloaded up on them all. And then I was like, wait, this is just
the most inefficient way. That's the most inefficient way to make money.
I know. Dude, this is just how we do it.
The first bad guy, it's I just got all that money in one fight.
210 gold. I know. It was just that inefficient way I did it as a kid. I just started doing it again because I'm playing it all in muscle memory. And then I was so I ended up with 190 something silver points again. And then I was like, what am I supposed to do with these? Oh, I get that stupid clone that goes in my room. I don't need that. And so I just left.
Man, okay, so I went in there. I played each mini game exactly once, bought a cat with the 80 silver point game, and then moved on.
Ugh, I could still buy that cat, I think. I could just go back and buy it. But no, I'm definitely at the new place by now. So I also went in I remember I kept going into the forest both before I got Marley, and then after I got Marley. She's the only character I renamed besides myself. It's just Amy.
Jeremiah and Amy and all the standard friends after that.
And the cast. Yeah. But this time I
The
left
back.
it Chrono, so Amy's totally cheating on me with a badass.
Well, strong silent type. Who can resist?
What can you say, man? They're all using combos together and stuff. But
Cool. All right, then we will meet up again on Tuesday to discuss Chrono Trigger more in depth with hopefully with Tim and JT on board.
yeah. So we'll chat with you guys then. Thanks for hanging around.
And until next time, who would win, Spider-Man or Batman?